Tonight on Womp Radio, we are talking about High Republic, video games, and Disney Plus scheduling. Stay with us. We'll be back in just a minute.
You're listening to WRRT Womp Radio Tatooine.
Iceland Spaceport. You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Impressive. Most impressive. You are not a Jedi yet.
The Force is what gives the Jedi his power.
I love you.
I know.
It binds the galaxy together.
I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you.
No disintegrations.
As you wish.
Half-witted, scruffy-looking nerf herder.
This is where the fun begins.
At last we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi.
Feel. Don't think. Use your instincts.
This is how liberty dies. With thunderous applause.
Ahsoka. My name is Ahsoka Tano.
Why did you come here?
Because of you and your apprentice.
You already know the truth. The belonging you seek is not behind you. It is ahead.
My name's Rex. But you'll call me Captain or Sir.
Sir, yes, sir.
They said 50 years old.
The commission was quite specific. The asset was to be terminated.
Whoa, slow down. Might want to quit while you're ahead.
You might want to quit while you're behind.
Can't let tear this ship apart until you found those plans and bring me the passengers. I want them alive.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only
Not
hope.
so fast. It appears I have an idiot's array.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
He doesn't like you.
Sorry.
I don't like you either.
I am Bo-Katan of Clan Kryze.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Use the Force, Luke. Let go, Luke. You can't win, Darth. You strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine. Put Captain Solo in the cargo hold.
Could be worse.
It's worse.
Ranger Crest, do you copy? You have to reduce speed.
Almost there. Almost there.
Ranger Crest, do you copy?
May the Force be with you.
Your destiny lies with me, Skywalker. Obi-Wan knew this to be true. Wars not make one great.
Thank Ferric, that was close.
You were right. You were right about me.
Dank Ferric, that was close. That's all I can think of when I see that. Our new Star Wars swear words. Welcome back. Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome to Womp Radio. We got a great show lined up for you tonight. Joining me, Edward. What is up, my man? How are you?
Hey, Sam. How's it going?
It is great. Happy New Year. Stan Solo's in the house, too.
Hello. How you doing?
Good. I love the monorail jacket there, Stan.
Got the monorail shirt. Just made this one this week.
This week? Really? Where'd you get the material?
Custom ordered. It's
custom ordered.
Yeah, it's from. I didn't design it though. Someone else designed it and bought it off of someone that designed it.
It's awesome though. I love it. So happy New Year, guys. We're back.
You too.
Although I got to tell you, Jimmy, by the way, is in Batu today. This is true. He was in Batu earlier today. He helped the resistance. So Jimmy, we miss you. We'll see you next time. It's a new year, man. Christmas is come and gone. How'd Christmas go for you?
He was quiet.
I got a dark saber.
Dark saber. Awesome.
That was a rhetorical question.
Yeah, it was. So I had that ready to go. And
the FX pre-order one, or which one is that?
No, this is the. Let's just say this was in the toy section, not in the collector section.
That was the available one.
Yeah, this is the one that was. This, by the way, is the one that has been available for years from the Rebels cartoon. So this wasn't new. This has been out there for a long time. So that's the.
I want to get the FX
been around a while.
Now they're going to.
The FX one does look good. They probably will sell it.
Before we get any further, real quick, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Just your whole opening is great. I love watching it every time as we're getting ready to come on and you bring us on there. And I have to make notes every time I see it because a lot of times there's news. Really, two quick facts about it. Liam Neeson, I heard this week, might be in the Obi-Wan series. He's on board to come on board if it's going to happen. I don't know for sure, but I definitely heard the rumor.
Qui-Gon Jinn, very nice.
The other rumor was about the Ahsoka series, is that there was a rumor going around, or something that was said this week, that Sabine has been hinted to be maybe showing up.
It only makes sense.
A couple kind of cool things to hear, and your whole opening makes me think of those things, and I'm like, okay, I gotta write that.
I try to edit it and add things to it. That's why you see some Mando in there. I love those connections, and I think that's exactly what all those products that Disney's coming out with are about. It's about being able to do all those things.
The other rumor I heard is that Han Solo is going to be returning, and I'm not sure if it was for Mando or Book of Boba.
Interesting.
Wow, nice.
I'd love to see those things happen. So guys, I got to tell you, last 5 or 6 times we got together, it was all about Mandalorian. We were breaking down episodes and we were talking about what was new, and man, that was fun. And it just reminded me, getting ready for this, that it was so fun to have that content to go through. And what are we going to talk about this week? Right? But Disney didn't let us down. They made some announcements earlier this week, and some new things are out there. So we do have some news to cover, but this is fun all the way around, if you ask me, right?
Sure. They've definitely started a whole new genre of Star Wars.
A whole new genre called the High Republic. They launched a video about this. This is based on a multimedia deployment of Star Wars storytelling. So what I figured would do is watch the sizzle reel that they gave us, and a little bit about what this is.
We are the guardians of peace and justice. Beyond the stars is a near endless frontier. Our order was meant to shine its light in even the darkest corners of the galaxy. There, we found an evil that none of us had trained for, that threatens all we know. For the survival of the Republic, the fate of all Jedi, for control of the Force itself.
There we go. Star Wars, the High Republic, a new adventure begins. There's a couple of things that I took out of that, guys, that I thought was really cool. Number one, an interconnected storytelling, meaning novels, comic books, young readers, Disney Plus series. I think there's a whole lot of cool stuff that we have coming in front of us when it comes to this.
Oh, sure, no doubt. We definitely have the books that came out. Was it last week or the week before?
It came out last week. Yep.
And the comics. So the story basically is the background's getting fleshed out of what we're talking about with the High Republic.
So I thought what I'd do real quickly is take that timeline that we've been working on, right? Because this is what we've been working on and putting all the pieces into when we sort of got it down. And now what we have to do with this new Republic is completely shift this timeline. Go all the way backwards, because
go back to the future.
It's back to the future. But if you remember, we hinted to that Acolyte thing and the fact that it was quote unquote during the end of the High Republic, which is 300 to 100 BBY. But now what we're into is storytelling of the High Republic era, which is about 300 BBY to 82 BBY. And 82 is a really interesting number, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But this is kind of cool to see where the timeline's taking us, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. The first thing we did is we tried to figure out, once we saw Yoda in that trailer, what exactly was Yoda now? If he's that old and he's this old at the time we knew him, and so timeline's perfect.
And Yoda shows up in some of these. Now, the one thing I do want to point out, because I know there are a lot of people that are big in video games and they're big in the Old Republic. The High Republic is not the Old Republic. The Old Republic is way before any of this. In fact, it goes all the way back to 25,000 BBY up until about 1,000 BBY. So they're different. This does not impact any of the Old Republic video games or the things that are happening on those timelines. This is much more current than those things would have been. And in fact, Ed, if you looked at this before the release of these books that we just saw, the oldest piece of Star Wars canon that was available was a novel that was released in April of 2019, which is Jedi Lost, which is the story of Count Dooku and Asajj Ventress in his fall from being a Jedi to being now Count Dooku, seduced by the dark side, essentially, which I think is kind of interesting.
Canon, is that what you're saying?
This is the oldest piece that was canon, released in 2019. Yeah. So this is the oldest piece of literature we know that before these books were released.
This is the Old Republic is not canon then.
Well, the Old Republic is in video games, right? It's not in the comics and things like that. So it's a little different, but.
And the way it's been going, though, you got to hold out hope because eventually it might become canon. We're finding out a lot of things that are out of canon right now by a mention in The Mandalorian or, hinting at what's coming ends up being back into canon. So you never know.
That's exactly right. That's the whole, it's exactly right. Legends until somebody mentions them in canon. Yeah. Or specifically says they didn't happen in some way or form or contradicts them, which hasn't happened that often.
Sure. The new Squadrons movie. They have a new Star Wars Squadrons movie. The Wonder Woman director is going to do it. That wasn't quote unquote canon until they came out with that announcement. Now that whole Squadrons series is going to be canon.
Let's see how that gets told. All right. So knowing this was the case, I wanted to go back and do a little homework on Dooku, right? So Dooku was born in 102 BBY. He was one of Yoda's Padawans. He trained a 12-year-old Qui-Gon Jinn, which gets back to the comment you made about beforehand there, Ed, with Qui-Gon maybe coming back. Sidious turned Dooku to the dark side, becoming Darth Tranus. We know that at the end of the High Republic era, about 82 BBY. Very interesting. Then Dooku secretly built what he went on to start the Clone Wars with the Clone Army, and he even built the Separatist droid army. And he's the one that got Jango Fett, by the way, into this. And one of the big quotes he had is there is no good or evil. It's only power, and those who have it and those don't. So interesting data on Count Dooku, and I wanted to tie that in because I think it's going to come back in a bit. Interesting, right? So somebody we know from the first movies.
Or second movies, depending how you look at it.
First or second, second from episode 2. I'll call it that. You got me there.
Sure.
You got me there. I'll give you that. So then we know that Dooku was around from 109 BBY till 19 BBY. He died in episode 3 at the hands of Anakin Skywalker, right before he became Vader. Now, interestingly enough, that book, Jedi Lost, was written by Cavan Scott. Okay. When Disney just made this big announcement about the High Republic book series, they interviewed all 5 of the authors that are part of the series, doing comic books and doing novels and doing whatever. And interestingly enough, that is Calvin Scott. So he's part of the team that's writing these stories that happened before this story. So darn well they're going to get connected to each other, right?
Sure. Yeah.
I would say they have to. So I thought that was pretty cool. So what they did at StarWars.com is they had an interview with all of those authors and what they were going to be coming up with. And in fact, one of them is Calvin Scott. And the question was asked to him, what is the High Republic era? So I sort of kept a little clip of that.
So this is the golden age of the Jedi. This is when they're at their heights. These are peacekeepers who've pretty much done their job exceptionally well. There's been peace for hundreds and hundreds of years. And so the galaxy has entered a period of prosperity, of progress, and that's changed the way the Jedi view themselves, view the Force, in some cases even view the laws of the Jedi as well. But most importantly, it's changed the way the Jedi operate. They're not hidden away in temples, and there's not just one temple on Coruscant. There are outposts and temples on every major planet in the Republic. And the Jedi are out with the people. They are a part of life. People are used to seeing them, and the people love them. And that gives a special responsibility to these Jedi to perhaps be a little more flexible in how they work, but also, above all, to be the beacon of light they need to be for an ever-growing galaxy.
So kind of cool. Jedi are everywhere. They're out amongst the people. I think that's really cool.
And until he said that, I guess I never really figured out how the Jedi before, as we knew them, weren't out among the people. They were basically just doing missions for the Council and Coruscant type things. However, every so often you'd hear a hint of a Jedi that happened to be on a planet helping out some, natives or something like that. But for the most part, what are Jedi? We don't know what Jedi are. So they've been gone already so long.
That's right. We just take them for granted, and we took them for what they are. They're these knights, and now we get to hear a little bit of that backstory, which is really cool, if you ask me.
Well, I'm trying to remember where it was, but weren't they explained as being almost like judges and peace officers before the Republic, like before Episode 1? And I think I'm trying to remember where I heard it was a comic book or something, maybe from Qui-Gon talking, or
they were sort of like that. I've heard that before. Hi, Kim. How you doing, by the way? Thanks for joining us. We're talking Old Republic and the High Republic. I'm sorry, not the Old Republic.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. There were a lot of things around there, but here's what we know now, Stan.
Decision makers, I think they called them. Basically.
Right. Just last month, we got that first released January 5th. This is Light of the Jedi, which is the first book in the series of the High Republic. And by the way, it is set in 232 BBY, which just happens to be 150 years before 82 BBY. So I thought it was interesting that those numbers were round, even though they're not, right? It's exactly 150 years before Count Dooku was seduced out of this Jedi Order because he was part of this Jedi Order, right?
Sure.
That's the way I looked at it.
Somebody's pick a year, and then 150. Okay.
150 years before. Right. Sure, 150. That gives us room to do things, right? That's kind of funny.
Yep.
I like that a lot. All right. One of the things
in there.
Yeah. So one of the things that was alluded to in this special was something that happened along this time in the High Republic that they're referring to as the Great Disaster. But they're not saying anything about it. They alluded to it as being similar to the destruction of the Death Star, but different. Kind of interesting.
Did you catch what it was?
I did not catch what it was because they didn't say. They basically said by the books.
However, I did glean from the information about the individual books. There's a galaxy-wide hyperspace issue.
Yes.
So a lot of the storylines in the books are based on people trying to get places and then trying to get there and getting stopped, and in different locations where they get stopped. So then you hear about all their different reactions to this big event that Sam was saying.
Yeah, which is supposed to be interconnected in all of these novelizations and comic books and whatever. It's like the center thing everybody experiences from a different place. And in fact, that goes right to what you were talking about, because the High Republic it's a galactic government. It's run by a chancellor. That's a picture that we got of her. And she was responsible for building what is called the Starlight Beacon, which is essentially designed to help those travelers that can't quite maneuver the outer rim or the dark space that they call it. I think that's what they call dark space.
Right. Hey, David, how's it going? Welcome. Now, before I have two comments that I'm going to be grilled for because they are from the other universe. They're from the Star Trek universe that I got. However,
there's no dark sabers in the Star Trek universe. Okay.
Starlight Beacon is an analogy for Deep Space Nine, so think of it that way.
Sure.
It was definitely just it's a place out there that's helping out in the outer fringes or the outer fringe. And I reserve a second use to this, so continue on.
That's cool. All right, so back to the books. We have the first one in 232 BBY, which is the same as the second one. The second one is High Republic, A Test of Courage. High Republic, A Great Race. One is a young reader's book. Very fast, only 24 pages, but it follows some of the episodes that happen. And look, it's a Wookiee Jedi. How cool is that?
That was cool. So
isn't that cool? These characters are great, by the way. I related to Chewie. That would be kind of cool. Who knows? The interesting part here is how they talk about telling Star Wars stories in a way where they can create all these new characters, and they don't have it's all new because it's so much before the others. Another being A Test of Courage, another novel that is also out. All three of them set in the same 232 BBY with the great disaster happening, which I thought was interesting. Now, they showed some pictures from the books, but go ahead, Ed.
Well, I was going to say, my theory is basically this event is going to be similar to the BBY event. This is where the Death Star blew up in this part of the galaxy or this part of the timeline. So I guarantee we're going to start spreading out from here as the years continue on, if they continue with this. But they're explaining what happened right now. You know, this is it. This thing happened. We're dealing with it.
There's a lot of Padawan journeys. Remember, there are Jedi all over the place. So there's a lot of kids on adventures and doing things, and we'll talk about that in a minute. One of the pieces of artwork that came from that young novel's book, The Great Jedi Rescue, is this. And I had to look at this quite a few times. Because is that an Indiana Jones whip lightsaber?
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's a wonky looking lightsaber.
It looks like a whip.
You got to put the picture up, though.
Yeah, what are you looking at?
Oh, geez, I'm so sorry.
You not see the picture? It looks like a lightsaber whip, but it looks like a crazy straw lightsaber.
All right, here we go. I'm sorry. I thought I was sharing. There's my Wookiee. There's the other one. Now, here we go. This is it.
Yeah,
I did that.
What is this? Apologies for those watching. I thought I was sharing.
The Force has, if you can control the Force, maybe you control that beam, and it's controllable.
I don't know, but there's some cool things here because you see one of the slicer droids that comes out of the video games. Now you see this little whip thing. I'm going, man, what's going on here?
So this is going to be the young readers' books, obviously.
This is the young reader books. That's the Jedi Great Escape with the look. You got a Wookiee Jedi, a Hammerhead Jedi. Kind of cool. I love that.
Q was one of
yeah. That was all me.
I seen the pictures online, so I knew you were talking about.
Which is kind of cool. So now go back into this, and you got more books coming. You got comic books, the High Republic 1, the High Republic 2. You also have the High Republic Adventures edition number 1, which is another comic book series that comes out February the 3rd. So there's more and more coming, more comic books, all based in the High Republic. And all of these things, Ed, go back to what you were talking about before. They all go back to that beacon, the Starlight Beacon, and the fact that it's a Jedi temple. It's run by the Jedi and the Republic cooperatively. This is where everybody goes that's trying to explore deep space. And I thought that was kind of cool.
Oh, yeah.
The Dalroy books, the Marvel Comics, and the Young Readers books, for the low price of $100,000, you can get the entire story.
The entire story. Actually, I looked at that young reader book, the one with the Chewie Jedi in the front. It's $14 or so. It wasn't all that bad, but it's not very long. It's only like 24 pages.
One of the cool things about the High Republic is they kind of stressed in this whole interview of the authors is that this is a time of the galaxy when there is no strife, there's no problems. Everybody's basically got a handle on all the problems going on for the most part, and that means that everybody has more time to expand and do more exploring and things like that. The thing I wrote down was pretty cool is that the high or the Chancellor, which is kind of wild, they call the Chancellor called the Chancellor since they have that in the Empire, the New Republic. We're all the Republic is the saying that they use. We are all the Republic. I'm sure we're going to hear that a lot.
Which, when you think about it, all the different alien races, that's kind of cool to say we're all the Republic.
So it's great that we got all these Jedi and they're all scattered throughout the galaxy and they're policing and judging and taking care of business. But is there a villain in this series at all? Have we heard?
Oh, there's bad guys because there's got to be something. There has to be. So yes, we're going to get to that for certain. And in fact, one of the things I wanted to add was the book coming out in a couple of weeks called Into the Dark, which is set in the same time frame. It's the next book, February 2nd. And apparently these guys were trying to get somewhere when the great disaster happened and they can't get there and blah, blah, blah. But to your point and what we talked about before, look at all these characters. They've started from the ground up, created all of these characters. They all have backstories. They all have places where they fit. Some of the Jedi, Loden Great Stormer is this guy right here. Kevin Traris, Avar Chris up here on the top. And this is Vern. Her real name is Vernista, but she's a big part of a couple of these novels. But just seeing all of those new Jedis, I think, are so cool.
Kim, which books are the young reader ones? Those
the young reader one is this one right here, which is the Great Jedi Rescue. That's the young reader book, the one with the Wookiee on the cover of it, and it looks pretty good. Amazon, $14 or so. And by the way, Light of the Jedi is already available on an audiobook.
Oh wow, that's cool. That's nice.
That one is, and I'm thinking that might be of interest for sure. Now, all these new characters are cool. And if you were to look at a time like what we did for Mando, when we laid out the characters and who could be alive and who couldn't, what you're going to see in the High Republic Adventures, which comes out February 3rd, the second wave of comic books, this is where Yoda's going to show up.
Yes, this is going to be great.
This is where Yoda is training the Padawans, and they go on adventures and they do all this kind of stuff. But check Yoda out. This is like a buff Yoda ready to fight.
Here's the analogy I have for this one now. We saw Yoda at the very end of his life. We unfortunately saw him as a World War II veteran, right?
Yes.
At the end. This is going to be him in the war, basically, when he was the guy. So I can't wait.
He was the guy before the Clone Wars, years before that, right?
You thought he could jump in episode 2.
All right. Yeah, seriously.
Just think he's doing his time.
That's right. That's right. It'll be awesome.
Yep.
All right. So Yoda is in here. He's the only character that we're going to recognize, or is he, as we get later into this? But Yoda is absolutely part of this. And Stan, there's got to be a bad guy, right?
There's got to be a bad guy.
There has to be a bad guy. So this is Marshawn Rowe.
Shrek. Okay.
Sure. Why not?
One of quite a few bad guys.
They're pirates, right?
He is the eye of the Nile. The Nile are the pirates that you see, and the Dregger is some sort of type of a monster who apparently eats a lot.
Aren't they plant-based monsters that can take over a planet very easily if a spore gets out or something like that? I think is the kind of.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, coming for a perfect galaxy.
Yeah. Yoda in his prime. That's exactly right, Kim. So that's the bad guys that we have, which is kind of cool.
Sure.
Like, you have to have something. The Jedi got to be fighting something, right?
Sure.
It's cool. All right. Now, to me, this is all the Star Wars story group really at its best in some of the stuff that they're pulling together here, because ultimately we already got some hints of what was going to come. So we talked about the fact that Dooku in 82 BBYs, when he got seduced and went to the dark side. So I want to tie this back to Disney Plus for a second, and I'm going to remind you guys of a clip that we watched either last week or the week before.
Leslie Headland, Emmy-nominated creator of the mind-bending series Russian Doll, is a boldly innovative filmmaker bringing her new Star Wars series to Disney+. The Acolyte is a mystery thriller that will take us into a galaxy of shadowy secrets and emerging dark side powers in the final days of the High Republic era.
All right, so here's what she said, and I jotted it all down. Acolyte is a Disney Plus series. Shadowy secrets, emerging dark side powers in the final days of the High Republic, right? Darth Sidious turned Dooku to the dark side to become Darth Tyrannus at the end of the High Republic era in 82 BBY. So, and by the way, in Legends, we were talking about Legends before, there's a community called Dark Acolytes, which are followers of Dooku when he went from the Jedi to the dark side. We might see that coming back. Mm-hmm. So all of this said lets me to believe that Acolyte is the Count Dooku series for Disney Plus.
Oh, cool.
That's what I think. That's my speculation.
I think you are correct.
Yeah.
They didn't say that, but think about it.
Yeah. You brought up a great point, though, too. As you were saying that, Darth Sidious turned Count Dooku, but aren't we going to be able to find out where Darth Sidious came from in this timeline of the High Republic? The end of the High Republic, perhaps, is called
Shadowy Secrets. So who's the Shadowy Secrets? It's Palpatine.
Yeah, sorry to get under. Wow, yeah.
Yes, right. But no, I didn't have that on the slide, but you're exactly right, Ed. So the shadowy secrets in the underworld are Palpatine convincing Dooku to come to the dark side to be his apprentice. Dooku goes to the dark side, starts the Clone Wars, takes over Geonosians, starts the building of the Death Star with the Geos. It's wow when you tie all that stuff together.
Or could we even see how Palpatine beats Darth Tyrannus?
We could.
Sure.
Yes.
Where the story comes from.
We'll see how all of that ties together, because that's where it overlaps in the timeline here. Because we had on here 32 BBY's episode 1. We know where things stand in episode 1, but what happens before that? What triggers the end of the High Republic and the beginning of whatever you would call this next era? I'm not sure exactly what they call
it. The Republic? Isn't that what goes into the Clone Wars?
I think it is the Republic. So you go from
it's no longer high. It's on its way
it's no longer high, or it's no longer old, Ed, right? The old Republic, the High Republic,
it's just the Republic.
But it all ties together. So that's what I'm saying. I am saying that Acolyte, even though nobody said it, I think that's the Count Dooku series. And if he's not in the first set of this, or how many episodes there are, that's where I really think this whole story group of the High Republic ties all of this together right into Dooku, right into the events of episode 1. That's cool.
Yeah, very much so.
Or at least 30 years before. If Dooku was born, Dooku was basically 20 years old in 82 BBY when this happened. When you look at the math, so that's cool. It's my story. I'm sticking to it. We'll find out if I'm right later.
Yeah, it's recorded. Hey, before we get away from this, Yoda's guys, the ones he leads around, he has Padawans, but he also has a squad of Jedi that hang out with him.
Yoda's got a squad, man.
The name of one of them stuck out so well, and the guy who does the comic said it so many times. Buckets of Blood.
Buckets of Blood in the comics, yes.
And I believe he was what's the one that looks like the devil? He's the guy that has the horns on his head. He was in the Mos Eisley.
Mos Eisley, Devil Man.
And he's a Jedi, as we're talking about the different types. That one.
Buckets of Blood. I love it, Ed. Because Buckets of Blood, you would think would be a cool bad guy, but he's the good guy.
Sure.
He puts the bug back in. I think that's what the comic book guy said, right?
Yeah. I'm looking forward to all of it.
I thought it was cool any way that you look at it. All right, now I'm going to remember to put the timeline back up.
Stories. I would have it where Yoda is an apprentice or a master of several apprentices, including Dooku, and all of them turn to the dark side, and just leaving Yoda devastated and not wanting to train anybody.
Wait, that's like Luke Skywalker.
Well, no, because that's why he didn't want to train Luke.
Well, Dooku does train Qui-Gon, so
Qui-Gon Jinn, when he was 12.
So he does make that.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You're right. That's right.
But if, as far as that, he could have already been turned at the time. I don't know.
But Dooku was a Padawan of Yoda's.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that lineage. That's great.
It'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. And I thought those connections were kind of neat. All right, let's go back to the Disney Plus timeline, because we had talked about this previously. We laid out the timeline and all of the shows that were coming, and it's a little bit confusing. So I thought, let's look at this a little differently. Instead of looking at it where it fits in the canon timeline, let's look at it how it fits in release schedule. So what are we going to see come out, right? So in 2021, should we be expecting to see on Disney Plus? Answers are The Bad Batch, the Clone Wars animated series, Boba Fett, the Book of Boba Fett in December. Can't wait to see that one. And Star Wars Visions. We should see a couple of those visions sometime in 2021. So that's something for us to look forward to right here on the show, right?
Sure. A lot.
That was cool. Book of Boba Fett seems so far away, but it's going to be fun.
It'll get here. There'll be so many things talking about till it comes.
We're used to waiting.
We are. Okay, then in 2022, we should see The Mandalorian Season 3. We don't know when, just sometime in 2022. I hope it's early. The Obi-Wan series, which we know that Ian McGregor's in, and you were talking before about Qui-Gon Jinn maybe making an appearance. Maybe. Although for this one, I'm still kind of stuck. Why would you need to have Hayden Christensen as Darth Vader in the suit? You need Hayden Christensen to be Anakin in a flashback, right? That's what I'm thinking, but
yeah, good one.
We're also expecting to see Andor. That's the Casey and Andor series sometime in 2022. good stuff to look forward to. Then in 2023, we have a feature film release with a date, 12/22. So Christmas time of 2023 will be the Rogue Squadron that you were talking about, Ed. That's when we'll see there. And we should see Acolyte sometime then. So hopefully all of these comics and books will play out. We'll find out what's happening in the High Rebuplic and wrap it up at some point there. So it's another great spot where the story groups all fitting together. Kind of cool.
Sure. And there's nothing saying they're not going to have another release before 2024 that we don't know about yet, depending on how popular these book releases are with the High Republic.
That's exactly right. And I would even say once you get the 2024 plus, it's just everything else is what I said, because you can't really know what is or what isn't coming out, because any of these can move up. You got a droid story, you got Lando, you got Rangers of the New Republic, Ahsoka, you have an untitled movie and 2 untitled movies. One's a Kevin Feige movie and the other one's the, oh geez, I forget his name.
I heard there's going to be a second Solo movie.
I could be. I haven't seen it officially from Lucas, but it could be.
Yeah,
hey, Chris.
I thought
Mara Jade mentioned in any show. Mara Jade in any show? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I thought a droid story was coming out earlier than that. Is it
I don't know. I put it there because I couldn't find anything official. Okay. So I said it may be in production, but hopefully that's sooner. That would be completely separate, right? Because a droid story is a combination of ILM and Lucas Films, right? It's not just them. A lot of that is it's animated.
Yeah, and I thought it was just shorts. I didn't think it was like a full episode.
Not sure. Could be sooner. This is what we know now. And I want to change this. Trust me, I want to move everything up. Move it all up.
Yeah, no kidding.
Move it all up. That'd be cool.
I tell you what, Chris brought up a good point. I'm glad he did, or she did. He did. Mara Jade. I've heard a lot of talking about it. I actually saw a fake video of someone bringing up Mara Jade in a conversation with George Lucas, and he ran him out of the room, kind of as like a spoof. But I have heard a lot of different things about Mara Jade might be around the corner, whether in the books or in some type of spot on one of these series that's coming out.
Nice.
It'll be interesting how they introduce her too, and how well. And again, somebody who's not canon anymore, perhaps becoming canon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about Mara Jade, for those that don't know.
Maybe Ahsoka?
True. Mara Jade was one of the hands of the Emperor. The Emperor had Darth Vader, and then he had 2 or 3 assassins who basically did his bidding, and he trusted fully. They had some type of Force sensitivity, which helped the Emperor control them, and Mara Jade was one of those. We heard about her after Return of the Jedi in this, series of books afterwards, where Luke was a master and he came up across Mara, who had nothing to do with no Emperor anymore. And I don't think I'm ruining anything here by saying basically that's who Luke Skywalker married, Mara Jade. They had
in the Legends books. Nothing from that yet. But that's cool. I thought this stuff was all neat.
For sure.
And it goes back to all of this, Lucasfilms, all the cool stuff that they have. The fact that this is getting old, it needs updated like you wouldn't believe with all those Jedi. Holy cow. Although in reality, it needs updated in the middle because a lot of these guys are Old Republic.
Or even in the Mando area too, like you don't have...
the Mando area definitely.
There.
Yeah, you got the whole season 2 is not represented at all.
No.
That's what it comes down to. All right, so that's Disney Plus, and that's the High Republic we talked about. Now, video games, man. Love Star Wars video games. Who doesn't? And I want to talk to this for a specific reason because Lucas made some announcements. But I flashed back to my first experience with video games on any platform. It was 1993, DOS on a floppy disk. A system that looks something like this, where you took a floppy disk out and you bought your package at Babbage's or maybe Egghead Software. Egghead probably wasn't around there. It was probably Babbage's in the local mall.
Radio Shack.
We're going to say Radio Shack.
Or Radio Shack. And it was X-Wing. That was the first game I played. That was me. And I remember this like yesterday. I remember going through the missions, flying down the cockpit. Absolutely loved it. Spent a ton of time on it, even though I shouldn't have been. And by the way, that was all branded with the LucasArts logo, the L. It was cool stuff. That was a long time ago.
I thought I had it just down here. Maybe I don't.
You have it?
I think I have it somewhere on my desk.
I think I have the box somewhere.
I had this played it with the Atari joystick. Was the way I played it with the keyboard and the Atari joystick. I didn't have a nice fancy controller like that machine has.
Well, and that's I didn't have one like that either. I was playing with the keyboard. I was holding down shift and control and hitting the different buttons and knew what all the function keys would do and do all that kind of stuff.
Adjusting your shields, adjusting your engines and lasers,
right.
And locking on the next guy. It was very, very good for the. I'm sorry, Stan.
I was going to the sequel, the TIE Fighter. I much preferred that one.
Well, they all got better, right?
They were able to learn from everything from X-Wing and made TIE Fighter. And then you know what they did after that? They came out with X-Wing versus TIE Fighter. That was the third version of it all. Which I don't think I ever got that one. I thought it was okay done.
I believe I had all three.
Nice.
And it could be just where we were in our lives at that time, right? Some of us didn't have time to start in families or whatever. So this on the left-hand side is Star Wars X-Wing 1993. And on the right-hand side is Squadrons from 2020. No sound, but just give you a little idea. I can remember like yesterday, this guy doing all his welding while the ship's getting ready in the background and you took off. But of course, it's just not even close when it comes to graphics and animation. But it's been core for 30 years, these video games.
What? You could, there it is. I wanted you to see the cockpit. The cockpit is very similar and all those controls are workable. You could ratchet down all those lasers and put them into your shields, and you'll see the second layer of green shields go up there. I just totally remember that. This is the obstacle course that you had to get through to.
Yeah, it was kind of the training. You got to fly through these things, but you could see when you were in attack position or you weren't, and how your jets were fired up, and it was versus today is amazing. But I guess the X-Wing is just the same controls to fly it. What's gotten better is what's around you. Right. Instead of a little flat thing, you got a full-blown Star Destroyer.
Sure. It's nice.
I haven't played anything past probably 2000 for video games.
Bummer.
Got it. And a lot of those tie back into canon, which I think is really cool, right?
Sure.
So the announcement that Lucas made was the launch of Lucas Games, which is the new umbrella under which all of their video games are now listed. And they did provide a sizzle reel for that. And I've played quite a few of these things. There you go. Lightspeed. That's one I play all the time right there. Old Republic. That one, Ed, I want you to talk about.
Execute Order 66.
Squadrons is great.
You're our heavy hitters. You've done it. The tunnels are open.
I haven't gotten through the story yet.
Lucasfilm Games, that's the new logo that they're using. But that's just an absolute, there's so much more storytelling that's being told with those games. I love it, man. There's one, that Galaxy of Heroes, I hit that all the time. That's the brand new event right there. They just added the armorer to the game. This is one that I play all the time. Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes on my phone.
I played around with that like last year or something like that. Never.
I've kept up on it, but it's just amazing to me that the games are an entire genre. And Ed, for Squadrons, I know, and even for Battlefront 2, I played in story mode. so it wasn't that hard of a game. But I wanted to know the story. I wanted to know what happened next. I wanted to know how these different squadrons interacted, and they add and fill in some of the blanks between the movies, which is cool.
Right. And plus you're learning things in the squadrons. They get progressively harder and harder. So you're learning different tactics and such like that.
Yeah.
I've got 4 games on my computer right now. I've got Battlefront 2, Star Wars Battlefront 2, but I had both versions. I had Battlefront 2, the 2005 version, when LucasArts had it, and then EA Games bought that whole genre, and they revamped them all, and they came out with their latest Battlefronts and Knights of the Old Republic. Now, the one that I thought was the best is Empire at War, which is a Star Wars one, and it's a cool one because it's more like along the lines of the games where you start out with like you build like buildings, and once you build the buildings, you can create ships and things like that. But it's on a bigger scale. Plus, you have space battles. So you can set up battles with Star Destroyers and squadrons of X-Wings and Y-Wings and different things like that. Very, very good game. One of the best PC games. I've had that game for years, and I've never taken it off my computer.
That's good. Mm-hmm. So, Stan, it's been a little while, is what you're saying?
Yeah, well, it's now you say you have the 1-up version of it, but the old game was the upright with the handles that you had in the arcade.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't know how many quarters I put into that game.
I get it.
Crazy amount of quarters I put into that game when I was a kid. That one I played so much. And
I have the 1-up version only because 1-ups are 3/4 size, so they're more kid size than they are adult side. But it still has that controller and the good old way. It's like, for me, it's natural to it's like a flight. You push up to go down, and you go backwards to go up, and it was
close to getting that 1-up thing, but I have no place to put it. That's my problem.
I understand. I do understand it.
No, I wanted to ask you, Sam, with the 1-up, when you're going through the Death Star trench, if you don't fire a shot and just avoid the lasers, do you still get the bonus?
I haven't tried it. Now I got a reason to try it.
Now I have a reason to try
it. I've never tried it.
You'll hear Obi-Wan's voice saying, "Use the Force," and what that means is just glide through it and just avoid getting hit. And if you get through it without hit and without,
I will give it a shot. I will try that. I hadn't heard that before.
Yeah.
Now the one game I do want to try is the Oculus and Adventures of Galaxy's Edge or Bat 2. And Ed, I know you've played that. You have it. Tell me more about that, because you're talking 3D in Galaxy's Edge. I can't wait to experience this.
Oh, hang on 1 second.
Ed's gonna get the mannequin with the with it on, which is really cool.
Actually, I guess it would have been at Disney Springs. The
Void.
Here's my Oculus.
I did the Void a couple of times.
Have you done the Void, Stan?
Yeah, I've done it 3 times.
Oh, we were talking about the Void, so we'll get back to that in a second. Let's let Ed go over his thing here.
Cool.
Yeah, go ahead.
So there's two games on there for Star Wars right now. There's Vader Immortal, which is it's been on there for a couple of years now. It's a 3-parter. And then the latest one is Tales from Bat 2. Now, the video I saw earlier, that looked like something else besides it, because I haven't found that part of it yet. But Tales from Bat 2 basically is a VR experience of being on Bat 2. You basically go into town and you're doing quests, and it's set up so you're going to have multiple tales that you'll have to buy down the road. So I got through the first version of it. It was very, very cool. I ended up in a bar. That was great. Bartender sends me on my way. Very immersive experience. I'm using blasters. I'm using grenades. I'm carrying things. I'm collecting parts for droids. Really, really incredible experience.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like
very fun. Now, the Vader Immortal was great in that there was a really, really great plot twist to the entire 3 parts of it that keep you going through it. That was something you never would have thought of for Vader. I mean,
so is Vader Immortal the same as what they were doing at the Void, Stan, or are those 2 different things? Stan went through the Void.
You didn't try the Void at all?
I didn't have the opportunity.
So with the Void, you're a rebel, but you're infiltrating an Imperial base. So you're disguised as stormtroopers.
Oh, okay.
So the droid from Rogue One,
Wait a minute.
The pilot, right?
No, the reprogrammed Imperial droid.
Yeah. So that's who's transporting you to the Imperial base.
K2SO. K2.
K2SO. That's it. Is transporting you to the Imperial base. So it's cool because when you look and you got a stormtrooper glove on and the stormtrooper armor, and you look at your friend beside you and they're dressed entirely as a stormtrooper, and you grab your guns, and then they tell you no. She says don't shoot anything, but of course the first thing you're going to do is start shooting. You start shooting at it right away, and as they start firing back at you, and you could feel the shots. Like when you get hit, you feel it. You get a little jolt. So they have you hide behind panels and stuff. Like there's panels that you're going to be in.
So you basically dressed up like a stormtrooper as a rebel, got into the base, and just started shooting people instead of trying to find stuff.
Basically, yeah.
Is it like inside laser tag?
In a sense, I guess, but you're not against other people. You're against the screens, like what's in your.
You're against the storyline. You're trying to finish the story.
So there's different games you have to play. So you have like two people shooting, one person playing the game to unlock a door. So K2SO will say, well, do the combination to open the door. So there'll be these lights and they do different patterns, and you got to follow the patterns to open the door.
Right.
All right.
But the buttons don't quite line up to what's there. So you're following the pattern, but you're hitting the wrong one. And then K2SO says, what are you, stupid? Do it again. You're not doing it right. And the door opens up and you go through. Of course, there's a bunch of stormtroopers on that the other side of the door, so you start shooting them. But the coolest part is you go on this lift, and it's on Mustafar is where you're going.
That's what I heard. You're going to Vader's castle. Yeah.
So you're on Mustafar, and there's a lift that takes you up, and it kind of goes up at an angle. And of course, Mustafar, hot. You feel the heat underneath you as you're on this lift going up at an angle, and you can feel the heat coming from underneath you. And then you go into this one room. I don't want to spoil it for you how the ending.
I want to do it eventually.
That is very similar to Vader Immortal.
Is it okay?
Yeah. And you go through this one cavern that is so immense that was the first vertigo I had felt in the VR world. I mean, it was huge, and it was Vader's place. What else did I
That's cool. We got a whole show on video games where we can just drill into a couple of them. So that's down the road. I just thought because they did this whole rebranding, it would be interesting to talk about it. So, although Chris has a question there about the new hotel, if it's going to fall into canon, and if Galaxy's Edge will be mentioned in the Book of Boba Fett. So a couple of things. The Star Wars Hotel is the Star Wars Galactic Space Cruiser, and I absolutely guarantee it will fall into canon, and it will be part of the entire story experience, right? Because you're boarding a galactic space cruiser. You're going to spend a couple of days on it, and it's going to land at Batuu, and you're going to have adventures to go on Batuu. That'll be really cool. And whether or not Galaxy's Edge gets mentioned in the Book of Boba Fett, man, I hope so.
I'm thinking it will.
It's that branding. And I was also thinking the ship definitely is going to be in a book if it already hasn't been in a book, right?
Yeah, it'll be
out there.
Yeah. I was chatting with one of the Imagineers at D23 Expo that worked on Galaxy's Edge, or the Smuggler's Run, and the hotel.
Yeah.
And the day they announced the name of the hotel and the name of the ship and all that. So I said to him, so is it going to be like a couple $100 to stay there?
Yeah.
And he goes, no, it'll be a bit more than that.
Yeah. It's going to be a cruise. It's going to be like paying to go on a 3-day cruise ship. And remember, the whole goal of this, and this is another show, the whole goal is to board this space cruiser and leave Earth to go to this rendezvous on Batuu. So you're no longer in Disney World as far as they are concerned. You're now on Batuu. You're part of this Star Wars adventure. You're in a room that has a whole bunch of screens around you. And by the way, it's not very luxurious as far as the rooms goes, if you've seen pictures.
Yeah.
It's a bunk bed. It looks like a cabin on a Star
Cruiser, right?
Yeah.
It's nothing fancy about it, but you're in there to get a mission done, and you have to go and bargain with the residents of Batuu and earn credits and get information and interact with Val, and it's, I can't wait to do it. But it's not going to be like, oh, hey, let's get up today and go to Magic Kingdom. It's going to be you're immersed in this thing. So what I would expect is you do a week vacation at Walt Disney World, but 2 days you stay at the Star Wars space cruiser.
On Batuu, yeah.
And you go on this adventure, and then after that, you transfer when you land back on Earth. You transfer to, I don't know, Contemporary or Pop Century or someplace else.
No, the thing is, you always have to take a grain of salt with everything that they tell you.
That's right.
As far as Disney goes, because I remember being at Celebration and them telling us that the lightsabers we're building are going to be. He says they're real-looking lightsabers. You guys have never seen anything like this before. And then it comes along. Well, it's the same as the FX lightsabers that have been around for 10 years.
Yeah.
I think
I think there's a lot of things that happen, Stan, from the blue sky ideas to the practical execution.
Well, yeah, exactly. They told us depending how well you do on the flying the Millennium Falcon will affect your experiences on Batuu. So if you do poorly, then you go somewhere else. It's gonna, somebody might not treat you very well because you smashed up the ship. Well, that doesn't happen.
No. You know what? I think they tried it early on, but let me tie a couple things together for you. For me, it was really easy to fly the Millennium Falcon because I knew up, you pull back to go up and you push to go down. My younger child didn't know that. So he's going the wrong way. And he's just banging the heck out of the thing. And then afterwards, he goes, well, why didn't anybody tell me you pulled down to go up? And I was like,
sure.
Okay, I understand now. But those were the kind of things that were happening. And then the cast members were being, hey, nice job on the Falcon. And the kids were feeling bad about it. So I think they retreated with some of that. But who knows? And Kim, you're absolutely right. A poly break after the Galactic Hotel would be good. And that's the question. Do you do the Disney Resort before or after that? You go on the space cruiser. I don't know.
Do it after. All the excitement would be to do the Star Wars hotel and then relax after the park.
Yeah. I would say that. That's cool. This is great stuff, guys. As always, I appreciate all of your time. I do have one thing I wanted to mention. We are going to be participating in Star Wars Podcast Day.
Oh, I saw this. Nice.
Which is a kind of cool thing. It has been 20 years since the very first Star Wars podcast started. They have retired, but since then, the community has pulled together to do a Star Wars Podcast Day, which happens to be February the 7th. Now, I'll say that February the 7th is also Super Bowl Sunday, so we will probably be recording something ahead of time and releasing it on that day. But either way you look at it, we will have a show to participate in Star Wars Podcast Day. So I think that was pretty cool.
Somebody didn't plan that very well.
Yeah, I know, right?
Somebody in Canada did it. I'm not sure, Stan. I'm not.
Probably, yeah, it must have been.
I am just joking. Anything else happening, guys?
Kim says do the poly after.
Yeah, she's going to go to poly after. I agree.
After. Yeah. I think she's right. So with that, thank you guys. I appreciate it. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. We'll go live. We're going to try to get back to every other Thursday, like we had been before the holidays interrupted us. But it was a great holiday season. Hopefully it was for you guys too. And hopefully we'll be in Walt Disney World again soon.
Alrighty.
I will see you later. Parting words. May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
Thanks for watching and listening to WRRT Womp Rat Radio Tatooine.
Goodbye, old friend. May the Force be with you.
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 May the Force be with us all.
And may the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with us.
May the Force be with you.
And may the Force be with us.
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you both.
May the Force be with you. May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with us.
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
The Force will be with you. Always. Remember, the Force will be with you. Always.
The Force is with you, young Skywalker.
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with us.